It's Thursday night. Welcome to the HammerFist podcast, brought to you by mmafightpass with the support of Spike and Rail, the barbecue house here in Selma, California, along with Klepler Digital Media, Visalia MMA, 559 Fights, and shout out to Alonzo Morales for About Millions. Big show tonight. A lot of nostalgia talk coming up to current times. We have promoter and matchmaker Joslin. What's going on, buddy, man? Finally got you on the show. Got to catch up to you. You weren't in Vegas, I know, or if not, on the phone.
Yeah.
All the time. How you doing, man?
Not bad.
Good,
Hanging in there,
good.
trying to make it. That's for sure.
Good deal, man. Hey, I know, we have a lot that, guys that are current, and what we try to do here on the show is kind of update, kind of like the history of MMA and stuff like that. A lot of people that have fought, in recent times, say King of the Cage, have probably fought under you, but those that haven't had an opportunity to be one is not King of the Cage, but actually pure combat, those here in the Valley that have been around for a while has experienced that. And, I know there's a lot of buzz coming up, but what we want to do is go back a little bit in time and talk about a little bit what got you into MMA. I know in the early days, actually, when we see a lot of coaches bringing in fighters and stuff like that, you're actually like a trainer, coach, got guys in like current times, Anthony Ruiz, Andy Macarone. I mean, had fighters fighting for you who we see now in the UFC. I mean, we can go on and on and on. I mean, Bellator champion Doug Marshall, Keith Berry, knockout Emmanuel Newton. I mean, we can go on. Gan McGee. I mean, in your shows here in Visalia or in Tulare. So we're going to catch them up. Basically, what rooted your interest in get involved in MMA?
Well, I've always been in the martial arts all my life. I found it necessary to be in the martial arts growing up, and some of the struggles that I had to endure as I was growing up and young in the Detroit metropolitan area. And so martial arts, because of situations and incidents in my life, martial arts became really prevalent in my life and a driving force, not only for me to be in martial arts, but really for my safety and for my, perseverance as a human being. So as time went on, I started fighting. Back then we were doing mainly bare knuckle stuff. Tournament type fights, and then it kind of grew, and then they started wearing all these foam pads and all this other stuff, and I really I disliked that, because I thought that it was so it just was punching and kicking with playing tag, and that I was never satisfied me at all. So I kind of walked away from the arts for a while, and then I started finding where I could get into more, solid kickboxing and Muay Thai, and then it just progressed into the mixed martial arts. And about '96 is when I kind of transferred over to mixed martial arts for myself, and then I had a fight team, and it kind of grew from there. How things do. Looking back, there was a big growth period. We used to be up in the mountain community there in Mariposa.
Yeah, now I was thinking, I know Mariposa, but what's that other little town out there? I mean, Oakhurst.
Yeah.
God, I couldn't think for the life of it. I couldn't think.
That's where Anthony is basically.
Yeah. Oakhurst. I was thinking Corsco because my brother-in-law lives there.
Right.
But Oakhurst, I was thinking, no, Oak Ridge? No, that's a different place. Ridgecrest? No, that's up there. But yeah, that's the place. Yeah, there's a lot of fighters. We've actually had a girl on our show, amateur girl that trains at, I think it was The Throne. that came down here, and she lives up there, up there where actually she knows Anthony, and she came here, and very nice girl, very tough. I think she fights like at 45, big, tall girl, yeah, real pretty, and she said that she knew him, and she actually trained with some of the guys in that area. But anyways, you know, I know what I met you probably say 2004, 2003, something like that. Kept on frequent meeting you at Gladiator Challenges with Ted Williams and then your team. I mean, at one time, how many guys did you have fighting, man?
Oh, I think we had 12 at one time.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
when we did the shows up at Chachansey back in the day, I'd have 5 guys sometimes on those shows, and we usually did it pretty decent. You know, I mean, we always came out of there feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that team. That was a solid team, man. There was a lot of guys that did really well, and every time they came out, you could see the improvement that they made, and they were higher up on the fight card, you know, versus the prelims. These guys, you know, end up being big names on the posters, and guys that you're excited to see on those cards.
I still got a lot of those posters. They're out there in the shed, but I have a lot of them because it means a lot to me. The history of this stuff, and that's part of, you know, after having the fight team and growing with them and managing them and you know, having basically when you're if you're a decent manager and a decent trainer and you have fighters, you should always be a decent matchmaker because you should be looking out for your fighters and understand the matchmaking process. So when I went into promotions full time, which is full time, I went. We started in 2006, but we went in full time in 2007, and you know, I already had a good understanding of everything because I was already doing so many shows with my team. And, you know, we had been to, you know, pretty good level shows, and, you know, back then, you know, Gladiator was actually a decent level show because they were one of the only things in town, so you had a lot better pool of fighters. Not to say that I know who the pool of fighters are currently, because I don't always know that, because I got to focus on a certain pool that I'm looking at, and so it just was a growing time in the sport. So you didn't, even if you were in the sport as a promoter, you attracted different class of fighters, even though they weren't as talented as far as skills levels and stuff like that. They didn't know as much. We didn't know as much. I mean, literally, many times I'd go and give up my body and go to different gyms and stuff to learn a technique, you know, to bring somebody back up to Mariposa and do a seminar with us and train us and teach us, because mixed martial arts was in its infancy. We were growing that, we were developing that, and man, where it's went now is just amazing.
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, at that time, would you ever think it would be like it is now?
I was hoping it would, because I always looked at the mixed martial arts live events as the proving grounds. So I look at martial arts as, you know, you want to learn how to do all these different things in martial arts, but you need to know what works and you need to know what doesn't work, and by training over and over and understanding that, you know what works. If it works in the cage, it probably works, or in the ring, it probably works, because, you know, on the street you're not going to have gloves. You're not going to take your shoes off. You're not going to say, "Hey, what weight do you have here?" I used to tell my fighters. They used to say, "Oh, that guy's overweight," and I'd say, "Yeah." I go on the street. Are you going to weigh a guy in? I go on the street. Are you going to say, "Hey, do you have a black belt?" No, you're not going to say that. You're going to say, "Hey." You're not going to say nothing except crack them upside the head with your knee or your elbow or whatever it is.
That's true.
Because if it comes to that, that's what you're going to do. And so, to me, it's the proving grounds, and what works, works, and what doesn't work, doesn't work. But it's amazing, especially the level in which jiu-jitsu and submission wrestling and Muay Thai and you know, all the different arts are coming together more and more, judo and just different things that you can see in the development of these fighters and the thinking of the mind and creation of new, I don't know if they're even new techniques, but they're techniques I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I had an experience with my time in the sport, and I'm really amazed. And I'm always watching the internet and stuff because I'm always amazed at some of the things that I get to see at high level stuff, you know. Doesn't mean you can learn it from the internet. You shouldn't learn it from the internet because you're not going to get the exact technique. It's like I used to do a lot of seminars.
Yeah.
And if it was a school where I went to and I really wasn't trying to teach them much, I'd teach them 15 different techniques.
Yeah.
I'd show them all these self-defense and stuff. And they'd know nothing by the time I was done. Or, if I wanted you to know something, I'd give you maybe 2, maybe 3 at the most. If you really got the 2 down, I'd probably give you the 3rd one. But you don't give out, you know, it's like this jiu-jitsu, you see it, you might go, wow, I might know how to do that by looking at it, but just a little twist of the arm, just a little tightening here or there, may change the technique completely. That's why going to the right school, training under the right instructors is so important in this sport as well as life.
Yeah.
You know.
True. That's true. I mean, just the way you position your hips, man, can give you the leverage to submit somebody.
Absolutely.
You know,
or take them down.
Exactly. You know, what we're going to do, we're going to speed it up a little bit. You know, I know, you know, you're doing something in Vegas, but we're not even going to talk about that part yet. We're going to go back for the last, how many years you were
7.
matchmaking for King of the Cage?
7.
And how much on average?
But I did a few other shows while I was doing it.
Yeah, but how many shows a year were you doing on an average?
Up to 14, but 16, I think the one year we did, I did 16 with them.
Wow.
And I got kind of burnt out on that because I was not just doing matchmaking.
Yeah.
I was literally doing everything. I was doing from A to Z, and then they would come in the week of the show, you know, because I'd promote it, I'd name the show, I'd build the poster, I would order the poster, I'd get the poster, I'd go get the tickets, I'd go flying to the casino, and I'd go and promote the whole show, and then the week of the show, they'd show up with the cage a couple days, and they'd be gone, you know. And so really, when you look back and you look at all you did for the show, it seems like I was doing the lion's share.
Yeah.
And that got tiresome, especially doing 16 shows a year, because not only do you got to do the show,
Then you had to do like TV, some of the TV.
all of us TV,
yeah, all of
everything,
it. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
every show.
That just steps up the time.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tempo.
everything was show,
Yeah.
TV. So, and then, you know, when you do a show, that means you got to promote the show. So now 16 shows becomes 32 trips because you got to promote every one of those shows.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and I believe on that side of it because I've worked with you. I've been out there help put posters up and signs up and have them tell
Side of the highway.
and then go ahead and do it again. And I've had opportunities, you know, with other promotions as well through the time too. But I don't know anybody.
Do they do that?
No, I talked to my producer earlier, and I said, dude, I know because I've done it. I've seen them, and that's what I said. You got to step back because you can only be one. You're only one person. You can't be everywhere. But he tried.
Yeah.
he tried. I
I've
mean,
shot myself out
from
a few
delivering
times trying.
tickets to doing this and going to the gyms and hanging posters and doing all that shit. I don't know anybody other than him that have done that. Most of them have like teams,
Yeah.
you know, street teams and doing all this stuff.
You know, when sometimes, you know, you have to put in the work to get the result. And sometimes, if you don't put in the work, you don't get the result. And so sometimes I'm kind of a hands-on person. It takes me a long time to trust people to take my hands off of something.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
And,
I understand.
that's really important right now, especially coming up this year. We got a lot of neat stuff coming up, and
Yeah.
I've got to be hands-on. So.
But yeah, it does. But like I said, I have had the opportunity to see the finished product, and those that have had that chance to see that finished product are excited. I know, I've talked to a few people about it, and everybody's out, and just kind of like a tease out there, and everybody's where, what, when, like that too. Even, like the last show, actually we did here, like that. Hell of a production. And I was telling my producer, it was kind of being like at a party. You had a car show, you had a bike show, you had people taking shots
Music,
of fame,
live music.
Yeah, live music and all that stuff just in one area. Who does that?
Well,
who does that?
I don't know. I don't know that crazy human being, but sometimes you got to think outside the box, because not always. You know how long I've been doing this. It's like I've been fighting for this sport since I've been involved, and sometimes if you can bring another little element to it, if you can bring a different look, or I got a couple of things I'm thinking about coming up this year. I'm trying to be a little bit different, something, bring something a little different, or even bring a little old school back to it, because I think that those old school shows were some of the best shows ever.
Oh, hell yeah.
And if we can bring that excitement back into the room, that, to me, that's where it really becomes exciting, because I don't know, back in the day, the Bodog shows.
Yeah.
The worst thing about a Bodog show, they had high-level fights. But the worst thing about the Bodog show is there wasn't an audience.
Yeah.
And if you take that element of the audience gone, you lose that adrenaline rush. You lose it for the fighter.
Yeah.
And you lose it for the cameras, you lose it for everything. So the audience is so important to every one of these shows. Always support your local fighters. Go out and have fun at these shows. Not even by show. For the sport itself, be a cheerleader for the sport. Be a cheerleader for the athletes. Show your. It's kind of like the old. I grew up in Michigan, and back in Michigan, they used to have a thing called border wars against Ohio. And we'd do wrestle-offs for Ohio and Michigan, and the support around that is phenomenal, and that's what we need in this sport. We need those wrestling moms and the soccer moms and the soccer dads, and we need the people that are going to support these athletes, because I see it all the time. I see posts all the time. People don't know the struggle. People don't know the struggle. That's right. They don't. But guess what? If you get your name out there and you put it out there and you show the struggle, whether it be on film or by your voice or by your blog or maybe you do a Facebook Live once in a while, you're going to show the struggle and show what it means, because a lot of people like to hear that background. Not everybody just likes to see the fights. For instance, I had one of my nieces out in Reno. She's very, very religious, and she was looking at fighting as this thing that wasn't very godly.
Yeah.
And we would try to tell her, hey, no, you don't understand. This is actually a brotherhood, sisterhood type thing.
Yeah.
And she didn't understand that. And then she came to one of my fights. Then she connected with one of the fighters who was, a lot of our fighters are very religious and very, they get close to God when they're getting their butt kicked sometimes, or kicking some butt.
Yeah.
They get pretty close.
Yeah.
And so she got connected in with one of the fighters. By the end of the night, she loved fighting now. She loves it, but she understands it isn't the part of punching people in the face. It's the part of taking the journey with another human being, taking that journey with their hard work and what they've put into something, and making it something that you guys both go through and grow together. And at the end of that, that's why that you see MMA fighters hug and that really camaraderie is because they appreciate the journey. In a lot of other combat sports, you don't get them to appreciate the journey. And that's what I love about MMA and about mixed martial arts, is because it is the journey. These are all martial arts: boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, submission wrestling, Muay Thai, karate, kung fu, I guess, depending on what level it is, I guess. But the bottom line is they're all martial arts, and it should be something that's appreciated for its value, but it has to have value.
That's true, and that's what we try to do on this show too. I mean, because you always hear people, "Hey, when's so and so gonna come? When is so and so gonna? When is the next pro fight?" But you got to go and support the sport. You got to buy a ticket. These the promotions are gonna come here, but if you don't go and support it, who's gonna pay for it?
For instance,
Yeah.
right here in Fresno.
Oh yeah.
How hard has it been for Bellator to really grow there? It hasn't grown much.
So you know what, Bellator? Yeah,
It's
that's
coming
true.
up, but it took time.
Yeah, it took time. But I tell you what, I've been to both these last two Combates show,
I've
and
seen
they
it.
both sold out.
Yeah,
They both.
and that's awesome.
Because you know why? Because they use the same concept, production.
It is.
They make it like a party atmosphere.
There's
When
another
you're
thing.
going there,
There's
dude,
another element.
and you hear the mariachis come on,
Yeah.
whether you're Mexican or not, but you know
Yeah,
that
you love it,
heritage.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like being at a soccer game, but these guys are really gonna fight legal.
Exactly. But
It is.
but not only that, we have a very heavy Hispanic audience in the valley here.
Yeah.
And we should cater to some of that flavor. If we don't, then we're stupid. We're not paying attention to who's around us and who we care about.
Yeah.
If you live in this valley, if you don't like Mexican food and like Mexican people, then you should move out of the damn valley, because that's you're in the wrong place. Simple. I'm being honest. It's the way it is. And realize your surroundings is all I can say.
That's a good thing. I never thought about that. Because Bellator, I've been to their events and they have kind of struggled, and they've had some like good fights.
They always have decent fights.
Big name fighters, local.
They do.
But for some reason.
And how many years has it been going on?
Oh God. For a while, I want to say maybe 5 years.
Yeah, but they
Something
haven't
like
been
that.
really growing.
Yeah.
I wish they would. Trust me.
Yeah.
If Bellator stays away from those, I don't even know what you call those fights. Those fights, mistake fights, as I'll call them. I'll call it like it is. It's a straight up mistake to put on a Dada 5000 and a Kimbo Slice and these other fights that just aren't.
Those legend fights.
Yeah, you could call them a legend, or you can call them a washout, because it's really a washout. It really, for the real MMA fan, for the one who's looking at the sport, who cares about the sport and wants to see it grow, I don't think that's I don't think you're putting fertilizer on the sport here. I think you're dousing it.
So you don't think a Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock 20 would sell out in Fresno?
You give me pain.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves their due.
Yeah.
Ken, I don't agree with everything with Ken. That doesn't mean that Ken shouldn't deserve his due, but he needs to retire.
Yeah.
He needs to find himself a nice armchair and relax in it, and go and teach and hang out and do good for the community.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing, because I knew Bob very well, so I'm gonna respect
You know,
Ken
yeah.
because of Bob, and, you know, and Frank too, so.
Yeah. What was your opinion on the when Tito and Chuck fought?
Thought it-
Being close to Chuck, because you know Chuck very well.
Yeah, I didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
You know, Chuck is a great guy, and it's took a lot of, in my view, it's took a lot of notoriety away from him that he should continue to have.
Yeah.
And that hurts my feelings a little bit, but he should have never went in there if he didn't feel like he was Chuck.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Chuck in there. So to me, I want the best for him. And you know, I've known, you know, I've had some, you know, inner workings with Chuck. So to me, you know, he was my favorite, you know, one of my favorite guys. And Tito, I've never had except very little inner workings with him, and so because of that, of course, Chuck was the one who I would like to see at least showed, and unfortunately, that didn't even happen. So
That's it. I mean, what fights? I mean, you see now, obviously, like the UFC, Bellator. We talked about some of the other ones. What if you had the opportunity, and you know you're going to, but I'm just saying the opportunity and the funding to put together like a dream match, which one would you do? If you want to give that away.
man, that's hard, because there's, you know, there's so many matches rolling around in my brain.
Yeah.
What would be a better dream match for me is finding the next big thing.
Yeah.
I like, honestly, to me, two people that aren't known yet and that put on a war in my cage are my dream match.
Yeah.
It really don't have to
that'd
be,
kinda,
it doesn't have to be the next name. We
Yeah.
can make them the next name. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing, you know, for a lot of people. Look at Tony Ferguson. He's on a pretty good roll right now. He was,
Yeah.
you know, the you know, Pure Combat champion, and he hasn't had a belt since Pure Combat. So, you know, matter of fact, his belt's sitting in my bedroom right now under my nightstand. Yeah, so, you know, so guys, you know, building that next guy, girl, lady, I get in trouble all the time. I'm a little older, so I call everybody girls. They can be 40 years old. I call them a girl. I get in trouble for that. So it ain't a girl, it's a woman.
Yeah.
And or the guys, those fellows, you know, they all need an opportunity. I like to showcase what I try to do, and what UFC used to do is they used to showcase the fighter.
Yeah.
They don't showcase
They
the
went away,
fighter,
yeah.
they showcase the UFC.
Yeah.
I want to continue to try to give them the best stage possible to showcase their you know, their technique, what they know, and what they're trying to grow from.
What was good too about what you did when you were doing your shows, we would actually get the fighters. We would go to places, whatever, say come Spike and Rail, and you would have the main events and some other people too to network with the people,
Absolutely.
sell tickets, and you know, get that. The promotions all went away from that. They don't do that anymore.
People are lazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty much straight up, because if you don't want to put the work in, you're not going to get the product. I mean, you remember when we did the Greg McIntyre fight with Tap Out?
Yeah.
We had
Oh well, shoot, yeah. The
we had
crew
over
was there.
700. We had over 700 people at the
Yeah.
weigh-ins.
Yeah. At the
We had
cellar
people,
door.
we had people on the outside of the cellar door looking in through windows,
Yeah.
crowds,
It was
every
like-
window.
It was like we were inside a fishbowl.
Yep.
People were outside. They have big windows like this, but all across, they're all looking in. You see the Tap Out crew in there. They're filming all that stuff. It was bad. They had their bus up and down Visalia.
Yeah,
doing
I
all
told
over.
them
It
to
was
do
screwed
that.
This guy right here. This dude right here, man.
But it was, you know, it was an era and a time in which I wish we could recreate. there's people that are gone now. And so that could never be recreated, but we have to find that next little niche, that next little excitement that's gonna make people, where it's fun. All I wanna do is have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, this is work. It's horrible drudgery. But the bottom line is, if I can present an event that people can go, wow, you could be proud of something like that. You know, that's what's amazing to me.
Yeah.
To me, even back then when we were doing shows locally here, you know, when people would, after the show, would come up to me and say, wow, man, that's better than UFC's. And I go, yeah, I appreciate that. Well, man, I can't believe it. When are you coming back? You know, that was when we had a lot of fire in the belly down here.
It was awesome. I mean, we talked about, a lot of people were talking about how, well, Combata's, how they had like the tournament that they had like that too. Well, shoot, you had that 155-pound tournament, doing that. You were actually, how a lot of people are saying, oh, well, if so-and-so, Conor McGregor fought Mayweather, or Mayweather fought in a cage, well, he gave the first opportunity to a boxer that, not just a regular chump boxer, but a boxer that was top in his league, California lightweight boxer, fought in his cage in MMA. So, and no one else, well, the same boxer fought someone else later in a cage, but he was the first for him. And I mean, it was, yeah, he took those chances, man, and that's why much respect to him. Where everybody said, they wouldn't take that chance, he would. And I mean, and all those people that got there got to witness that stuff, and you know, those that did will still talk about it today. If we're in a group and talk and bring up those things, I guarantee you they will be, man. Those are things I'll never forget. That's awesome, just to be a part of it, you know, to be there, you know.
Well, we made some, toward the end of last year, I was working out in Las Vegas at the Rio, and I did 4 shows on CBS Sports for Final Fight Championship, FFC, and they were really interesting shows. We did, you know, a couple MMA fights, we did a couple kickboxing fights, and I mean world level kickboxing fights, and then we do a boxing fight, and then we do a couple MMA fights, and and it was all in a ring, and it was CBS. After the first one they liked it so much, they said, man, we love this format. It was enjoyable to me in a way, just because I hadn't done much in a ring except kickboxing stuff a long time ago. But the ring, you know, brings a different look to it, and they can't use it to go off the, you know, for the cage and different stuff like that. So it creates a little bit different. It makes me feel like the old Pride, and I'm more of a Pride guy than I ever have been a UFC guy.
Yeah.
I just, that's who I am.
Pride is wicked, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, those were very interesting fights. I think we did it, you know, world-class level, and so it was a great experience working with a lot of those athletes that I was able to work with. But right now, those guys aren't doing anything that I can see, and so I haven't got a call back. So because they're not doing anything, so I've decided to move forward with Pure Combat, and we have signed a contract with Feather Falls Casino.
Right on.
And we've signed a contract with Susanville, with Diamond Mountain Casino in Susanville, and we're waiting to, we're looking at a show in Reno, possibly early May, and possibly May 18th up in Salem, Oregon. So, you know, looks like our schedule is going to be, you know, reasonably busy this year. So
I know I talked to you earlier, and actually, isn't there a show like in April or something you got, Victorville?
No, the one in April, possibly April 27th or May 4th, is in Reno. That one is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that he was.
Yeah, that's right,
You're-
Victorville. Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
yeah,
me.
you were
That's
looking- Joe Stevenson.
yeah, that's April 20th.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's why I said I
I'm
thought
trying to get
that's
my
what-
mind around everything. I am helping the CFL out, which is California Fight League, Joe
okay.
Stevenson's league. I'm helping them with about half the card, and I'm looking for a few weights on that card if you're down in the Southern California area and you want to reach out to me and you want to fight in Victorville and you're an amateur, camo ready, or it will be a camo fight. It's going to be a neat place. They went on hiatus for a little while. They had all their equipment up at a show. It was all set up and everything. Well, the building burnt down.
Oh, wow.
So they lost their cage, they lost everything, their lighting, everything. Well, this is their first show back. That's why it's a straight amateur show this time. And I believe the next show is going to be a pro-am show. And my understanding is that's going to be on CBS Sport, or NBC Sports.
Oh, wow.
So-
Shout out to Antoine Hood, man. He's out in Ridgecrest. And
Yep.
that's close to his area. He's connected with a lot of the fighters and stuff out there. He's a good friend of our show and stuff. Antoine, hey, send out that bulletin, dude. He's looking for fighters out there, amateurs, in April. So, are you planning on anything, or is there anything in the works? Something closer to us?
Well, there's Oroville. Is that close?
Well,
I gotta.
I was in prison.
I gotta stick with
The Northern
who's writing me contracts to be a legitimate deal.
Yeah.
Anybody can do shows anywhere.
Yeah.
If you got enough money to throw in the wind, we can all do shows anywhere. Unfortunately, until I see a little bit different level of support here in the Central Valley, it would behoove me to do another show right now,
Yeah.
because I have to spend my time on, really the productive, where I can really be served best.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I got limited time. I'm not as young as I used to be. I can only do what I can do, and I'm still spending 12, 14 hours a day on the phone. So, I can only do what I can do. So,
Yeah. That's it. So the shows that you're gonna have, are they primarily gonna be amateur or both?
pro-am.
Pro-am?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pros. I know we have like an inner circle connection of fighters that we take care of and actually have. So that's good. Kid, just go out there and get the support and get the experience.
Absolutely.
Out there. With just the crew up there in that area, kind of gauge your level of where you're at. Starting off too. So
There's some pretty good level fighters up there.
there's a lot.
And I'm supposed to sign another deal on another. I'm waiting. I'm hoping by maybe next week, getting another contract in for another 3 to 4 shows up in Northern California, different casino. And if I get that, then I'll probably have 8 to 10 shows in the Northern California, Southern Oregon area. And then I think that's enough for right now until we get that smoothed out, and then
Yeah.
we get our TV schedule and stuff done. So that's kind of where we're working on.
the last time I talked to you, you're waiting on a meeting or something about that.
That's the story of my life, waiting on a meeting. But yeah, I have a couple of TV deals that are pending right now that we're looking at all the details. Some of them are live. If it becomes live, they become a little bit different format for me on how I got to run the show and how I have to meet all the different criteria.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they would be aired live to tape, so that helps us, and we can do a lot of posts that will clean up stuff for TV. So
Wow, that's awesome, man. So busy 2019 coming out of the gate, man.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
got surgery next month too. So
Wow.
I would say that it's going to be more than a busy month or busy year. I'm
Man.
not looking forward to that at all. But it is what it is.
But you got a good kind of crew now, through the years and stuff that kind of help you out now with the shows versus you do?
I have a couple really good partners.
So that's good. Yeah.
One of them is Leonard Gabriel, who was on Ultimate Fighter as the boxing coach the first season they did in Australia.
Oh, wow.
He was George Safanopoulos' coach and his manager. And he was, he's been around forever in the boxing world and MMA world. And he's a great asset to the team. And then I have another friend who's up in the Sacramento area, and he's got a couple companies up there, and he's going to help us in that area a lot, which I think is going to be great. Give me some foot soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need that with all those obligations and stuff like that. And Oregon, those guys, they got a lot of, that's a fight area or state.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's like Sacramento.
Yeah.
Really, Oregon has, to be honest with you, Oregon really, and Washington too, have both kind of won me over a lot on, because I have a lot of
you've done a lot of
connections
shows up there, yeah.
And you know what? The Great Northwest is an awesome place. They got some great fighters. They are really down to earth people, and I enjoy that. I like going to the gyms there, and I always am welcomed in all the gyms and treated well. So I really appreciate my Northwest fighter crew up in Idaho, and Trevor Prangley, aka up there, and just all the different gyms that I know up there. I really appreciate the guys and ladies up there.
There's a lot of stuff that I mean, like what we're doing right now. I mean, we're stepping up our deal. I mean, we're making available to be able. Well, obviously we do this stream, but obviously be able to do play-by-play and then live stream for fights and stuff too. I know we want to go out and like after the shows do like the interviews and stuff, kind of like how ESPN, that's what we're gearing towards, stuff like that after the shows, have a booth, go ahead and do that. But yeah, keep us posted, man. We like to make a trip out there and then show you a little bit what we do, like that too. So I mean, we got other people that come in and help us. We have a lot of fighters that fight, but also our correspondents of ours too that do interviews, try to get them at this level already. Right. Because a lot of them, when they don't fight, that's what they do. So what better area or better way to get a local fighter would know that face, get familiar with it, even though they're coming off amateurs, they might have one or two pro fights, but now they already got a fan base. Now they do this, it's all.
Well, it's important for them to learn the industry, all different aspects of it, so they can be knowledgeable. If you're a decent fighter, you have to do an interview.
Yeah.
If you're a decent fighter, you have to talk on the microphone after the fight. You got to talk to your fans. You might as well do it coherently so you can get what you want out of this sport. The only way you can get things out of something is put the time and effort into it. If you don't, you're not going to get nothing out of it. It's just like not putting a half of a fight camp in the gym and expecting to win.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. This is an important sport. If you guys think, you men and women think that it's something that you want to be part of, and it's something you're serious about, if you're looking for likes on Facebook, then you can do something else.
Yeah,
there's always tiddlywink, contests. But the bottom line is, if you want to be part of this sport, why not learn it from the inside out? Let's be professional. I mean, that's what a lot of these men and women that are coming in from wrestling, from the highest levels of wrestling, well, they're teaching them. They're college students, so they're teaching them how to act. They're teaching them, just like in the Olympics. You don't see those people spouting off and doing silly stuff and putting the wrong things on Facebook. Don't put your bong on Facebook if you're a fighter, because it really doesn't do you any good. don't have your your case of Heineken sitting on the table, and stuff like that. No, everybody knows you're really not serious. Take the sport serious. It's only going to be as good as we make it. We're the ones who make the sport. If you don't take it serious, why do you expect anybody else to?
That's true. There's one question, and I'm not even talking about like King of the Cage or anything else. I'm just talking specifically about pure combat. Out of all those shows, which one sticks out more than any that you wish that you had the opportunity to do that card again? I don't know what you would change because they're all pretty cool.
Yeah, they were so unique. I enjoyed. One of the fights that really stick out in my mind, of course, is one of the earlier fights is, of course, when we were calling Anthony Ruiz the Giant Slayer, or the Giant Killer.
Yeah.
I think it was a Giant Killer. I called him for a while, and then we put him in against Gan McGee, and then we put him first we put him against 315-pound Jimmy Ambrose.
Yeah.
And he's 210 pounds, and he knocks, finishes him. And then we put him against Brad Imes, and he beats Brad Imes. And then we put him against, that was at Tachi. And then we put him against Gan McGee, and he ends up in the third round knocking Gan McGee out. That's very memorable. But, one of the most memorable fights that I ever had, besides, Zoila Frosto, who was, one of her first fights was with us, and Jason fighting Brett Cooper was a huge fight.
Yeah,
I think that was a good fight. Then Emmanuel Newton fighting when he fought for us over there, and then Scott Lighty. Those were great fights with the lights out show. But I think that the Tony Ferguson Brock Jardine really sticks in my head. 4.5 rounds of everything you can do in MMA. And, that was Tony's last title that he, again, that's under my nightstand. But the bottom line is, you can talk to almost anybody who was there. I think it has to be within their top 2 or 3 fights of their whole life. And, it was for me, for sure.
All those fights, exactly, I would agree. The one that sticks out for me was Doug Marshall and Keith Perry.
That was a great fight.
Oh my God. I remember I'm sitting there cage side, and the fight starts, and they're going, Dougie throwing his bombs, and wasn't very successful at the beginning.
No, Keith was beating him.
Yeah, Keith's beating him. But it got to one point where Keith connected with a punch, and I thought Doug was out. And I'm right there ready to take a picture, and Doug is, when someone's getting ready to get knocked out, they go that way. And then he came and all hell. The rest was history.
What happened was,
oh my God.
What happened was, if you remember correctly, what happened was Keith was really firing and doing on all cylinders, and Doug got him up against the cage, and Keith reached over for a standing Kimura and pulled the Kimura. Doug rolled and rolled in the flipped in the air, ended up on Keith on the mount, and then he was throwing down huge bombs.
Yeah.
Keith was blocking everything until Doug changed it up and did an uppercut from the mount, and that was it. Keith was stiff as a board. We could have carried him out without the stretcher.
Yeah.
It was bad.
It was brutal. Some of those punches, I'm sitting on this side, and the fight's on that side of the cage, and some of the blows that Doug was coming down with, you could feel them vibrate. The air was coming from that's how hard he was throwing. But that was the first time I seen Doug. He sucked it up, and I was like, oh.
I think it was
God.
on that same card that Carter Williams versus Mike Cook was that was a heck of a barn burner, because really Carter was winning that fight, and really it cut. I think he had even cut Mike a little bit in the face, and then Mike came back that second round, and then Carter, he was starting out good on the second round, but then he took him to, which kind of blew me away, and I'm sure blew you away at the time. Carter took him down.
Yeah, I was like,
what the hell was
he was
Carter
a
doing?
Kickboxer, K1 kickboxer, and he takes a wrestler down.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
I was like, oh God, you must be really tired to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of wars, man.
There's some rumblings about Carter fighting in June for me.
Wow.
Yeah, guy.
How's he doing, man? I haven't seen him.
He's losing weight and he's training. He's training up with Chewy up there in Modesto.
Wow.
And under a lead, I guess, is it or under Clever? Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
and so he's training up there, and I guess he's losing weight. I told him that you got to do this, that, and the other thing, or I'm not going to book you. And he seems like it's heading in the right direction so far.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah.
It was always exciting to see Carter.
Well, Carter's a
win,
monster.
man.
He don't, unfortunately his age is catching up with him now.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if he's going to give it his all for a couple more times, at least he can have a little fun out of it.
Yeah.
Before he decides to hang him up completely.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy fights, man. I did like that 55-pound tournament. Mark Dela Cruz, Darren Crisp. Oh man, who's who of the local guys were all in this 55.
I just watched that fight the other night, Darren.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
fun.
kind of cool. I mean, we did a lot of stuff. I remember friends of mine, they had a magazine at the time, after I had mine, and then years later they had a MMA Unleashed,
Yeah.
and Zoila Prosta was the cover, and we again, I think it was it wasn't Cellar Door, it was at
Down the I can't remember either. Was it at? Oh, I know where it was. It was at Crawdaddy's.
Crawdaddy's, yeah, Crawdaddy's up there, and we had like the presentation and stuff like that too. But didn't we do the drawing or something? So one of the
Yeah,
drawings
I think
or
we
something
did
like that for something for you?
for something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been so long now.
Yeah, it was pretty. The other day I was looking through these pictures and I seen that, I was remembering about it. But no, there's a lot.
Do you
of,
have pictures of the Tony Ferguson fight?
I gotta look through my deal. I've been through like 4 computers since that time.
I want that for the Pure Combat Facebook.
Yeah, I'll look through there. I know I've had some on some photo blog I used to have, but I know a lot on my computers. But I've went through like 4 computers since those days, filled with libraries and discs, and between you and Ted Williams shows, I got tons. But no, so yeah, there's a lot of history, man. A lot of people that I haven't seen for years. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, were even asking me about that. Hey, whatever happened to Pure Combat? Those guys have been doing more shows and stuff like that. And I told him, hey, I'd actually talked to the guy, man, and he's going to start doing shows again, so we're looking forward to it.
Well, we did one last year.
Yeah.
Up in
I know.
up at Diamond Mountain.
Yeah. Like that too.
Yeah, but I've been so darn busy with everybody else's shows.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying.
I did 4 shows for King of the Cage last year and 4 shows for FFC. And the 4 shows for FFC was in about a 5-week period.
I was going to say, yeah, it was just like real quick. I said, dang, I thought this was supposed to stretch out.
No, they were going to do every week, whether they do it in the future or not. I think it's a concept, since I've been in a company that did 50 plus shows a year, I think I have probably some of the better experience on understanding how that has to happen.
Yeah.
And it takes a team.
Oh my God!
You can't do it. You can't do it by yourself.
You know.
So
You do that, and then the pool of fighters to get in here, and then that. God, that would be crazy. You would never sleep.
yeah, I know. Unfortunately, that's unfortunately, but I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ain't easy. It ain't easy, but you got to keep doing it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Got to keep doing it. One of the things about MMA and being a matchmaker, anytime anybody says, "Oh, I'd love to be a promoter and a matchmaker," I said they should. I said it's the greatest thing you'll ever want to do once,
It was.
And then you'll realize what all it takes to do it.
Yeah.
And you probably will, you'll either be crazy enough to keep doing it, or you won't do it again.
Yeah, you gotta love it though, man. You gotta
better.
love it, because if you don't, I mean, it's a lot of, seen a lot of families split because of that.
I see it all the time.
It's almost like an addiction of cocaine, where you see someone up here that has a lot of reserve, and they continue to do their passion, and all of a sudden they, you don't see them.
Right. That's right.
And that's kind of the sad part, because it's an addiction. You gotta be addicted to it to love it, to put in that kind of work.
Yeah. You're not getting paid much per hour, that's for sure.
That's it.
What's minimum wage, $10 now or something?
Shoot, I don't know.
But
I don't know.
I definitely wish I could get $10 an hour. That'd be good. I'd be happy with
I
that.
think it's what they were talking about. Did they pass a deal? It's what we were trying to get to 15 or something. I
They
think it's
just-
like 11.50 or something an hour.
Yeah, well, they deserve it.
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah,
all
if
right.
you're gonna be out there working, you deserve to be paid. That's the way I look at it.
that's it. Well, shoot, man, we're chopping down the time. We're almost getting ready to get out of here. We want to take the time to shout out some people, man, that have helped you throughout the years, current times as well.
You know, there's so many people that I could shout out to, but all the different fighters over the years that I've worked with. It's amazing to me when you guys and women come up to me after the fight, and maybe you've lost this time, and apologize to me for that loss. Now, do I expect that? No, but it just shows the respect and level of respect that you give me as a matchmaker, promoter, and somebody who appreciates and care about the sport. That's super important to me. The fighters are first and foremost because they are the talent. If it was Barbara Streisand, that's the talent. If it's a band, if it's Pink Floyd, that's the talent. So you got to treat them as such. I try to treat everybody with respect, and I try to treat everybody the way they should be treated. And sometimes I treat people the way that they treat me. So watch how you treat me, because I'm willing to treat you the same way. But other than that, really all the people that it takes to put these shows on, people behind the scenes, the camera people, the lighting people, the cage guys, everybody who works behind the scenes and does all the work that it takes to put these on. It's amazing how much work people put in because they care. And there's not a lot of money in this sport. I know a lot of times fighters complain about what they're getting paid. Well, I could do that too, but I do it for the love of the sport, and of course I have to make a little bit of a living here, but at least my wife would like me to. I'll give respect where respect is given, and I will try to treat people correctly. Sometimes I make mistakes, bring it to my attention, I'll try to make a correction.
All right. Hey, a lot of fights coming up. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. You can get a hold of me through Pure Combat Facebook, 2 words. Really, Pure Combat's really trademarked one word, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
P-U-R-E and then Combat, C-O-M-B-A-T. You can look me up on Alan R. Joslin at Facebook. I get a lot of messages through that.
Do you have any Twitter or anything?
I don't have Twitter right
Or
now.
Instagram,
I have
right?
Instagram, but I don't use it that much. I'm just not familiar with it as much as Facebook. When I get more familiar, I guess I'll use it.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
I just-
Same thing.
I'm lucky I can even dial a phone, so at this point in my life. But, I appreciate you guys having me come out and kick it a little bit tonight. And, again, the fighters are where it's at. The trainers, I gotta give a shout out to all the trainers, all the managers, all the people who it takes to keep these people in line and heading in the right way in their future in this sport.
Right on. Well, appreciate the time. Shout out to the Spike and Rail, man, for taking care of us. Obviously, MMA Fight Pass, Visalia MMA, 559 Fights, who actually we're jumped on board with them and also going to be at most of those shows. And Alonzo, About Millions, stepping up, helping us out along the way. A lot of stuff. Stay tuned. Next week, I think we're going to be working on something. We'll let you know the details during the week. But from now, that's a wrap. Shout out to Al Joslin taking the time, and keep this guy in mind, man. A lot of these amateur fighters, you want an opportunity to go out and fight out of this area, get a little bit more experience, and show where it's going to look a little bit different than you're used to here. Look them up. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right on, man. Appreciate it, man. That's fun.
We'll go
Fast,
use the
man.
restroom.